Hello everyone and welcome back to Quick Tops. With the 100 Season 7 just weeks away, I thought I'd make this video. This is my The 100 Season 6 episode by episode recap and review, comprising of my 13 videos individually reviewing and recapping each episode of the show. If you've seen these individually, then there is no need to watch this at all. This just puts them together and all in one place. Also, I will be covering the 100 Season 7 on this channel, and likely branching out to other series in the future. Thanks and enjoy. Hello everybody and welcome back to Quick Tops. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 100 Season 6 Episode 1. So the 100 is finally here. Even though the first two episodes were leaked, if you did see them, I still implore you to watch it from the network, to keep viewers up and to get Season 6 the response it deserves. A lot of the scenes from this episode were shown in the trailer, which was to be expected. We have the brand new intro sequence, which is very awesome, and we start off with the main team watching Murphy's message after Clark and Bellamy woke them up. As expected, even though it has been 100 plus years, there is still a lot of baggage between the characters, namely Abby and Raven. Of course, with Raven expecting Abby to go back to her old ways of popping pills, and essentially every character towards Clark. Of course, last season, Clark made some less than honourable decisions, depending on your point of view, and Shaw summarised it perfectly, essentially saying you can talk all you want, but it is about what you do, not what you say. Forgiveness needs to be earned. So as I said, this season is starting off with strong redemption arcs, especially for Clark. In a way, this is both an establishing episode and almost a Raven and Shaw episode. Of course, Shaw doesn't get the nicest of deaths, with it really reminding me of Atom's death in Season 1 from the acid fog, and Shaw dying from the radiation fence, also with both of them teaching our main beloved characters important lessons. Last time it felt like it was Bellamy, this time it was more Clark. In a way, I feel like the writers are opening up Raven for a possible Raven and Jordan bond. I really hope the transition won't be that cheap, but with their chemistry already quite apparent in this episode, that is the first possibility that came to mind. As I said, this was also a fairly important episode for Abby, with her getting Kane awake, but Octavia does the equivalent of cursing Abby and Kane out for them being traitors, and Kane reverts back into his catatonic state, coughing up blood, and with Abby putting him back into cryosleep to keep him alive. Also, Nyla wakes up Octavia when Abby specifically told her not to, which is just a nod that even though Maddie has the flame, and it has been 100 plus years, there will still be those loyal to Octavia, but there will also be those, like myself, that utterly despise her. Our group heads to the ground, almost being killed by the wildlife in the process, but they reach a semi-abandoned camp, finding a book saying that essentially when the sun's eclipse, heaven becomes hell for 2 days. Very few are safe, and that it is in the ear. Also finding chains that I'm assuming would be used to chain up the affected people, or just everyone to keep them safe. Also, we get a cool little sing-along from Murphy with him singing the 1985 song This Is the Sea from the Waterboys, which does really fit the moment, but Maury goes nuts attacking Murphy and trying to kill him. And also the ship is being stolen, but we don't know who it is yet. But we definitely know that our group is stuck on the ground for now, and even if they could get the ship back, there is no guarantee Amori could fly it, especially in her current condition. So it is looking pretty grim immediately for our group on the ground, but according to the book, this will only last a couple days, and by the looks of it, the new planet almost fights the humans that are there, which makes a fair amount of sense, since we're assuming that humans have only been there for about 200 years since the first Aegis ship arrived. The planet, nature, and ecosystem, just as the human body would, is still trying to fight this new bacteria, or in this case humans, which explains the bugs going crazy all of a sudden. Or possibly all living things are affected by this temporary insanity. Could be either anyway, but great establishing episode, and I'll see you all next week. Hello everybody and welcome back to Quick Tops. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 100 Season 6 Episode 2. So today's episode starts off with a flashback to 236 years ago, following the Lightborn family who we saw in Immoral last episode. This essentially shows us the first time the Aegis 3 mission crew found out about the eclipse. I actually quite liked some of these characters, so it is a shame almost all of them die in the flashback. with a cool reference to German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. So our main group on the ground spends most of the episode going insane, with by the looks of it the only one not being affected is Murphy, which I wouldn't have called, but it partly makes sense. He has a lot less of the emotional baggage that every single character seems to have, or at least he acts like he doesn't, but he really came through at the end of the episode. The only way Murphy gets Clark to snap out of it is to point out the fallacy in whatever is happening. For example, how could Clark's mother be talking to her if the radio is turned off? So some people take the dropship up from Alpha and 4 people attack the ship, with Raven waking up Diyoza and Maddie in the process, and 3 of these people being killed, with the last one coming to the ground at the end with the B-team. And Diyoza's acting and all-around performance is incredible in this episode, and I really hope they don't sideline her this season. Octavia comes to the ground with the B-team, and quite a small moment. You think he would be freaking out, but Jordan is on the ground for the first time. Also, Raven finds out about Shaw with Captured Lady, because I don't know what else to call her, leading the B-team up to the Sanctum. And with the episode ending with a bunch of children arriving back at Sanctum, I'm assuming after they've been in hiding for the eclipse, but no adults, which is a bit odd, but the inner building at the Sanctum is still locked, so there could be more people in there. Also, slight amounts of character development and away from Octavia this episode, with her essentially trying to force Skycrew people to kill her, or at least I believe that was her plan. Also, when the characters wake up, Murphy has varicose veins all around his neck, which I'm hoping that woman will explain to us. It could possibly be a byproduct of resisting the eclipse, or something to do with Nightblood possibly. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing The 100 Season 6 Episode 3. So this episode starts where it left off, with Gabriel and his wife being introduced as essentially the leader, or honestly closer to the monarchs of the group. We learn a lot this episode about their culture, with Gabriel saying an interesting line that death is not the end for him, and Murphy waking up talking about hell. Back to the monarchs, it looks like those with Nightblood are considered royalty, essentially. The group is locked up at first, but a team is sent out to get the dropship back, with it being attacked before they get there, and with Octavia attacking because it is, well, Octavia. But to essentially teach her a lesson, Bellamy leaves Octavia in the woods to fend for herself until she can redeem herself, with Bellamy telling her that his sister died a long time ago, so ouch. Clark spends most of the episode trying to convince Gabriel and his wife to let the group stay. At first it is a no, but Clark helps to save one of these royal people from our new version of Grounders. So far, we don't know a lot about them, except for the fact that they want to kill royalty. I would assume they are outcasts from the original group, or maybe they were cast out for crimes, or at least something along those lines. We have also been introduced to Jordan's love interest Delilah, who is also kidnapped but saved by Clark and is also of royal bloodlines. Jordan is who initially screwed up the group staying in Sanctum, telling them everything Clark has done, which makes a lot of sense. New people, and he probably doesn't quite understand the exact rules of keeping a secret, considering he knew 2 people his entire life. I also must say that J.R. Bourne's character and acting altogether is very convincing, one of the reasons I was very excited to see him cast in this show. We also hear from Maddie about a commander that scares her, with one eye and scars like lines on a map, who is apparently the Dark Commander, which amplifies the darkness in all the commanders, and he is trying to get her to choose his over the other commander's wisdom. But yes, the group can stay, although no more of them, which means everyone in space must stay there. There is a lot of people in space, but hey, the main characters are here and that is all that matters. But Gabriel and his wife find out about Charmaine Diyoza, and apparently her name is next to Hitler and Bin Laden, which I really like, just those small little nods to history, showing that the past is still significant, possibly being a reflection of the rest of the characters' past still being significant. But Diyoza is cast out, so I'm assuming her and Octavia will meet up at some point, with Octavia being captured by our Grounder friends. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing The 100 Season 6 Episode 4. So first, just want to say that someone pointed out that last review I was calling Russell Gabriel for the entire video. I don't know why Gabriel was in the title, and I just sort of focused on that for whatever reason. But we have returned and we see Diyoza and Octavia outside of Sanctum. Octavia tries to save a Nightblood girl along with Diyoza, but the girl is killed, which is probably the start of redemption for Octavia, realizing that her bloodlust has consequences. There are a lot of cool moments in this episode. We get a lot of backstory from Jordan about the faces behind the glass, and Echo about her parents and how she became a spy. Also, Delilah becomes Priya through the use of flames. It seems very apparent that when one of these primes takes over a host's body, it doesn't kill the host or get rid of them. It will probably be like the City of Light, which is probably how Clark gets back to Mount Weather in the trailer for this season. And this could definitely be used to bring back a lot of beloved characters who have died over the seasons. Also, since Clark has some experience with this, she might be more likely to be able to fight against Josephine and probably regain control of her body. So we know that the original team of the Aegis 3 are transferring their consciousness into descendants' bodies, which explains Russell Lightbourne's line about being bitten in the face by his dog and why he has no scar. But the original Mr. Lightbourne has a massive scar on the left side of his face. So this fact definitely puts Maddie in a lot of danger if they ever figure out she is a Nightblood. And this explains the children of Gabriel. They are likely unhappy with how the Primes are using others to stay alive, and that is why I am assuming that Gabriel is still alive, just in the flame without a body. They also did a really good job with the movement of Josephine within Clark's body, with her holding her arm and twirling her hair. Also, Raven makes friends with the Prime Riker, whose mother Priya is put into Delilah's body, of course, which explains why he wanted to fix the bike all of a sudden. Right now, the children of Gabriel seem to be that actually good guys, at least to an extent, with Sanctum and Russell actually being closer to Mount Weather. Something a little bit odd though, we don't see Abby, Murphy or Amori this entire episode. It is explained where they are, just whether the actors were busy or whether this will tie in later, I'm not sure. But I for one would like to be as far away from this chaotic place as possible, so kudos. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing The 100 Season 6 Episode 5. So of course, picking up from last episode with Josephine confronting Kaylee about her apparently killing her last body because she killed Isaac or something along those lines. For most of the episode though, Josephine through Clark's body is trying to integrate into the group to find out how many of the group are Nightbloods or hosts, with everyone getting very close to figuring it out, with her not knowing their language and writing with her right hand. Only Bellamy really figures it out though. We also find out quickly that Josephine is a deranged psychopath, but she makes cool Earth references, so I'll forgive her. We also check in on Octavia and Dioza throughout the episode, with them both being led into this planet's equivalent of quicksand by Xavier, who wants to know how many hosts they brought with them. Eventually a green flare shows up and cuts their conversation short. I was trying to figure out what this was called, but I swear they cut the audio in the word before flare. That, or it is called a temp flare. They get out and Xavier runs off before it hits, but Octavia is almost killed and her hand is definitely infected with something, I'd say. Jordan and our main group, besides Abby and Jackson, find out almost everything about the Lightbournes and their dirty little secret, with Jordan confronting Priya and everyone except for Murphy being against this. Even with Gaia being against it, which as Murphy said is a little hypocritical, all things considered, but the way she responded had a good point. The original flame was to pass on knowledge, not take it. But Murphy definitely sounds pretty interested in the idea of becoming immortal, with Josephine making a proposition at the end of the episode promising Murphy immortality. Probably if he helps her achieve her goals, because of course she needs to figure out how Abby made Clark into a Nightblood, so she can make more and her family can live on. But we all know bad guy Murphy doesn't last long. He normally always does the right thing in the end. It has been that way essentially since season 1. We also get an interesting scene with Abby and Jackson about how Kane should live and they shouldn't, and I do like what she said, even if it was a little harsh, with Jackson saying I was just doing my job in response to them serving Blood Rainer, and her responding with said by every war criminal ever. Which was a very good line, got to appreciate the writing. Even with a lot of Josephine's lines, they are all pretty top notch as of recent. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing The 100 Season 6 Episode 6. So this episode is called Memento Mori, which of course means remember you will die, which could be a nod to Clark or possibly even Octavia this episode. The story for Josephine, Bellamy and the main group is pretty simple for most of this episode. Of course, Murphy takes the immortality deal, helping Josephine to convince Abby to help make more Nightblood, which she does succeed in. Bellamy is pretty estranged for a lot of this episode though, of course, since he believes that Clark is dead and gone forever. Murphy attempts to turn him, but in the end Murphy helps him out going to Russell, with Bellamy almost killing Russell. But Josephine and Russell make the deal that they will share everything they know as long as the death stops there. So sort of a happy ending, except for Clark of course, but it definitely will not end there. Octavia's condition gets much worse throughout the episode, with the flare essentially aging her hand, and with our Children of Gabriel friend going to collect tree sap to heal her. It won't last forever, but apparently the flare is calling her because of the logarithmic spiral it is drawing. The logarithmic spiral is just a normal spiral where the angle and point of origin stays perfectly on the x-axis. He says that the spiral is the shape of the anomaly. In case you're curious, this doesn't mean the flare or anomaly was man-made. The logarithmic spiral occurs very commonly in nature, but I guess it could be man-made. Maddie is still very much struggling with the flame, with by the end of the episode being coerced by the Dark Commander to kill Gaia. She doesn't actually do it, but she banishes Gaia, and now wants to seek revenge with the death of Clark pushing her over the edge. And I think ultimately it will have to be Clark to bring her back from that edge. Overall, I liked the whole breaking the death of Clark to the group, how we didn't actually see their proper reactions until it actually came to Maddie. I feel like Maddie and her entire arc will be set on the basis of Clark's so-called death, so I think her more detailed reaction would have been appropriate and really made the episode. At the end of the episode though, I believe we get a glimpse of the actual Clark, or at least her actual mind, and what appears to be her cell in the arc, but specifically how the drawings had turned into her memories really interested me. Almost as if it is a prison of memories, or her own mind even. Also, the way it cuts out makes me think that Clark, or the person taken over, is only conscious when the host is asleep, which would make sense as parts of the mind go dormant. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 100 Season 6 Episode 7. So the majority of this episode is focused on Clark and what we now know to be the Mind Space. As explained by Josephine, the mind space is a place created by the brain when a mind wipe fails. So the two consciousnesses can share the body, but apparently only for so long before the brain and body deteriorates, which could be a subplot later on if the show decides to go for that route. Also, this episode we get a lot of fan favourites back, including Clark's father, Maya, Bloodrainer, Lexa, who wasn't actually really in it, it was just a recycled scene, and Monty, personally my favourite one, a good touch convincing Clark to fight back against Josephine, which ends up working. Also, something I must mention, I'm taking note of the fact that the Prime's consciousnesses can interact while one is asleep, like how Josephine called her father into Clark's brain while asleep, so that could be important later on. One thing I will say I didn't like is the uselessness of most of this episode. Although it was very well done and I liked almost everything about it, Josephine spent the entire episode convincing Clark to give up her memories. Then a pep talk from Monty and boom, she's fighting back again. Which makes no sense because that wasn't actually Monty, it was Clark's subconscious. She knows that, and it was kind of a bad way to convince her to fight back. Although I did really like the scene, so I'm torn, especially the transition seeing it as Clark doing the lights, not Monty. Also, someone I didn't mention, Ellie reappears, and apparently her input that she had into Clark's brain is still there. Even though the Ellie we know is long gone, a part of her still remains, and she is actually who saved Clark's consciousness and her memories. I don't believe this is a coincidence. There have been a lot of theories about Ellie or Becca's return, and they have been bringing her up here and there, even through the Flame and Maddie. So possibly since part of her still exists, she could return. I really like this fact because the writers are keeping so many subplots open, so we have no clue what they're going to do next. We also get a look into Josephine's past and why she is so screwed up, especially the douchebag incel shooting himself in front of her because she wouldn't go out with him. We also see her beliefs as far as diluting the bloodline and oblation goes, and us getting a look into how she treated people who didn't carry Nightblood and who support Gabriel. The episode ends with Josephine waking up knowing how to erase Clark, but with Clark using her memory that controls her body to send a Morse code message to Bellamy, which the timing is just amazing, but okay. But Bellamy gets the message alive and he will now be on a warpath to get Clark back. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 100 Season 6 Episode 8. So this episode is all over the place, going from Octavia to Bellamy to Abby's position, but the episode itself was really good with us beginning to cross into the second half of Season 6. So we follow Xavier, Octavia and Dioza for a while, learning a lot. First that Xavier is actually Gabriel and that Xavier is a host, so all this time Dioza has actually been travelling with the man she wants to kill. But for the sake of Octavia she doesn't kill him immediately, with them heading into the middle of the anomaly, with them seeing their deepest desires, or as he put it, sometimes their darkest fears. Octavia saw Bellamy tied up, Xavier saw Josephine, and Diyoza saw her kid. According to Xavier, or Gabriel I guess, nobody has gone into the anomaly and came out. I don't know if that includes him because apparently he was called as well, but Octavia and Diyoza go in. Octavia comes out healed and Diyoza, from what we can see, doesn't come out. So whether that will be a different viewpoint or whether she will return later, we don't know. Abby spends a lot of the episode working on getting Kane back, with her teaching the Prime Simone how to make Nightblood, and in return Kane returning in a new body by the end of the episode, with him of course freaking out seeing his own body. If this means Henry and Cusack is leaving so far, we aren't really sure, but I'm really hoping not. Also, a lot of development between Abby and Raven this episode. Josephine spends the episode trying to get Clark out of her head. It doesn't work in the end as Amori sells Murphy and Josephine out, with Clark's body being captured and with Bellamy planning to take her to a research station and to find Gabriel to remove Josephine from Clark's body. Although it does kind of suck because I really like the interactions between Josephine and Amori, but also Murphy gets his leg artery slit, which is probably not pleasant. And of course Maddie has the Dark Commander trying to get her to kill all the Primes, which she eventually tries to do, but Jordan gets in front of her, saving Priya or Delilah and getting stabbed in the process. Also, the other Primes learn that Russell skipped the line and brought Josephine back, which could cause a bit of a coup down the road. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing The 100 Season 6 Episode 9. So this episode picks up with Octavia waking up after a little power snooze from her adventure in the anomaly. She doesn't remember anything, so Xavier gives Octavia a type of hallucinogenic that will allow her to possibly remember or maybe even experience what happened in the anomaly. He also gives us a little backstory saying that the toxin is possibly the reason that life on the planet never advanced past reptiles. Octavia goes into a weird trip, showing up in the fighting pits, with Pike returning from season 3 and us getting some Lincoln flashbacks, with Pike, or what we think to be the anomaly, figuring out that Octavia doesn't just want forgiveness but wants redemption, saving Pike from Bloodrainer and killing her in the process, which I believe to be symbolic as well as literal, killing Bloodrainer. Bellamy is still on the run with Josephine, and the barrier between Josephine and Clark's mind is getting smaller and smaller, so by the end of the episode Clark can see Josephine, but Josephine and Bellamy are captured by the children of Gabriel, and Josephine is almost killed, but she gives Clark back control so she can fight her way out, eventually escaping and heading towards Gabriel, having to leave Bellamy behind. Again, Kane spends a lot of the episode trying to adjust to his new body, with there being a lot of talk between him and Abby, but in the end, after seeing his body's wife, he wakes Indra and some of the other soldiers, staging the equivalent of a coup against Simone and Abby. And although Indra doesn't hate what the people of Sanctum is doing, she still trusts Kane, so in the end, Kane kills himself, also destroying an essential component to making more Nightblood, but his drive is still out there, so in theory he could still return, even though I don't think he will. Since Clark is heading towards Octavia, I expect them to have a reunion next episode. As for Abby, Simone and the group on the ship, I'm not sure what is next for them, but I'm sure Simone is going to be pissed. But I think overall Kane did the right thing as always. Currently what is going on with Bellamy is unknown, but since most of those men would take orders from Gabriel, it shouldn't be too difficult for them to get him back. I must say though, I still feel like this season is going a little slow, telling us almost nothing about the anomaly and still not telling us how things are going at Sanctum with Amori, Murphy, Echo and Maddie. But I'm assuming most of the groups will reconnect within the next couple of episodes, or at least most of the groups, that is. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing The 100 Season 6 Episode 10. A lot of this episode focuses on Clark, Josephine and Bellamy, but it does give us some insight into what is happening at Sanctum. Also, the group from the Allegius ship, including Simone, returned to Sanctum, so those two groups are finally back together. So the episode starts with Josephine and Clark having to hide to avoid Sanctum guards, hiding at a little research outpost, but with Clark collapsing and going back into her mind space with Josephine. Their minds are getting worse and the barrier between their minds is getting smaller, with Josephine's books taking over Clark's side. Clark and Josephine float a lot of Josephine's memories, so that is definitely going to be a big plot point when or if she returns. Since the group from the ship returns to Sanctum, Simone tells Abby that Clark is dead, clearly to piss her off, even though it isn't really true. Gaia and Echo hide out at Riker's, with Echo blackmailing Riker to tell people the truth about the Primes, which definitely takes effect quickly, with one of them, Ty, confronting the Primes and killing Simone in the process. There are also some awesome scenes in this episode, one being between Abby and Murphy, with Abby slapping him after learning he helped Josephine. Another scene I really liked was Raven figuring out that the Dark Commander, or Shadeheader, is using the AI in Maddie's brain to block out the rest of the commanders, with Raven thinking she can reverse engineer it to delete or at the very least block out Shadeheader. Another very cool scene but short-lived was Gabriel and Josephine dancing, with Clark realizing, although again very short-lived, that Josephine is a person as well, and that she isn't as evil as the show is making her out to be. Still pretty bad though. The group at Sanctum are about to be burned at the stake when Murphy tells Russell that they can make more Nightblood through bone marrow, with Russell releasing them and giving them 24 hours to make it work. Although Russell is evil, he is still definitely the best of the Lightborns. He's really closer to Kane or Bellamy than he is to Josephine, in the way that he'll do what he has to do but no more when it isn't necessary. We get our Bellamy and Octavia reunion, which I loved the awkwardness of this scene. Bellamy had no clue what was going on, but we end the episode with Gabriel removing the mind drive, but not without complication. Josephine used the mesh in Clark's head to stay inside, but Clark kills her, waking up, and yay, Clark is saved. Also, I do really like the chemistry between Gabriel and Josephine. It seems very natural. Although I didn't think Gabriel had the heart to take Josephine out for a second there, but he did the right thing in the end. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing The 100 Season 6 Episode 11. So this episode is actually directed by Bob Morley, who of course plays Bellamy, and it was for the most part a really good episode. A lot of really good shots and some interesting ideas. Anyway, Maddie throughout this episode is still on her warpath, with this episode opening with her trying to break out stabbing Jackson in the shoulder. But Shadeheader hasn't completely taken over yet, as he wanted to kill Jackson, whereas Maddie kept herself from doing so. So there is still some sort of hope. Gabriel, Clark and Bellamy start coming up with a plan to get their people out of Sanctum, thinking of finding a way to lower the shields in the process. Also learning that Xavier destroyed the 1,000 embryos that were Nightbloods, and that's why Sanctum and its leaders wanted him dead. But before anything happens, the children of Gabriel show up, with it being revealed to them that Gabriel is inside Xavier, and Xavier's sister, who of course isn't too happy about it, as you would expect. In the moment being held at gunpoint, Bellamy comes up with the plan of releasing the hallucinogens into Sanctum through the use of a bomb, essentially making everyone in Sanctum go crazy and start killing each other. Clark and Gabriel end up using an alternative though, with Clark going back pretending to be Josephine, which definitely makes Maddie worse, but now she can lower the shields to get a less deadly version of the toxic in Sanctum. Murphy is also offered immortality again, and that is why he went with Jade to get Josephine back. Although he didn't really do anything, he sort of just tagged along, but Russell agreed to let him and Amori live forever with them in their Palace of Lies. Although I'm not that angry at Murphy, as he did do it to save Amori, and will probably turn back to the good side pretty quickly, as he always does. It has literally been the pattern for the last 6 seasons. We also get a little backstory on Echo, with her becoming a Nightblood due to the bone marrow treatments. Turns out her original name was Ash, and she killed Echo, who was going to kill her and had to take her name to spy for the Queen of Asgeda, with that actress returning since she was killed in Season 3, and has technically been dead for over a century, which is interesting to think about. Smaller things include Gaia and Miller having a bit of a moment, which kinda came out of nowhere, but he's still living with what he did under Blood Rainer. Octavia and Bellamy had a bit of a moment, but Bellamy still can't find a way to forgive her, even though I think he really wants to, saying, "You're my sister, but not my responsibility." Also, Echo kills Riker. One complaint about this episode is it ended in a really weird place. It just felt incomplete, to be honest. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be reviewing The 100 Season 6, Episode 12. So today's episode gets pretty hectic pretty quickly. It starts with Russell putting a drive back into Clark's mind, which should mean that Clark's mind is now being backed up onto that drive, making Clark immortal. Throughout most of the episode, the group is trying to keep Maddie asleep, as Shadeheader said that if they keep draining her bone marrow, he would kill Maddie, so they can't give him that chance. Abby has a lot of interesting moments in this episode, telling Russell that she is going to kill him. Also, this is her first time seeing Clark's body with Josephine's mind, or at least so she thinks. So obviously an emotional reaction. We also get a scene with Raven and Abby getting on to better terms, apologizing to each other, and Russell by the end of the episode turns Abby into Simone, essentially killing Abby, which makes sense, and the way they revealed it to Clark was really awesome. Gabriel runs through the shield before it is time, trying to appeal to Russell's morality, which doesn't really end up working, which I think we all expected it wouldn't, but by the end of the episode he is left in the palace. Furthermore, Clark holds Riker's mind drive hostage to get Priya to take down the reactor, getting their group inside the shield, getting Priya to admit to the false gods and worship, with Priya being killed by Delilah's parents in revenge. Russell, after Priya admits the truth, initiates something called the Adjustment Protocol, which essentially uses Eclipse Toxin to turn believers against non-believers. After that, all of the primes escape to space, with Clark getting Gaia aboard with the plan to hold her hostage against Indra, to get past the guards on the Aegis ship and of course to save her life. Also some great moments from Amory and Murphy, with the plan being that they take the identity of Dan and Kaylee, who we saw in the beginning of the season, with a great moment being them holding hands, with Gabriel telling them that the people they are planning on becoming are brother and sister. Also a great turn in the end with Murphy and Amory staying in Sanctum, going off at Josephine, or Clark technically, that all she did was help and you killed her, with Clark telling Murphy that she is proud of him. One thing that is currently on my mind is, where is Jordan? He was stabbed by Maddie and he hasn't shown up in 4 episodes. Also, there is only 1 episode left and there hasn't been a massive twist yet, so I'm definitely expecting one at the end of the next episode, the season finale. As we are already confirmed for another season, I'm expecting a resolution of what is going on at Sanctum, and hopefully at least some sort of information on Diyoza and the Anomaly, as I think the Anomaly will be a massive part of the next season. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing The 100 Season 6 Episode 13. So the season finale has arrived, but before we get into the review, some sad, or depending on how you look at it, good news. The 100 Season 7, so next season, will be the final season of The 100, as stated by Jason Rothenberg in a tweet a couple days ago. I personally think this is a good thing. Although I don't want it to end, at least we will have a complete ending, as long as they don't Game of Thrones it, of course. So the episode starts on the Aegis ship, with Russell taking over and concocting a plan to go to planet Beta, assuming it is inhabitable, and if it isn't, going to all the other planets in the solar system until one is. Also, the second Maddie gets the chance to talk, she says attack and leads like 4 people to their deaths, but that response time was epic. Clark reveals that she isn't Josephine to Russell and Simone, even apologizing for their loss, which I thought was a cool scene. Eventually Simone catches up with her and Clark has to essentially, but not really, kill her mother by pushing her out an airlock, with Simone trying to gain Clark's trust, but Clark seeing right through it. Shadeheader for a lot of this episode is doing, well, Shadeheader things, but by the end of the episode Maddie blocks him out, with Raven deleting his code, also destroying the flame, meaning Lexa and the rest of the commanders are gone. But an upload was completed before, and that means the Shadeheader, Lexa and every other commander is probably somewhere, possibly on the ship, or somewhere Becca designed to be a backup if the flame was ever destroyed, is my assumption. Meanwhile, on the ground, our live group comes up with a plan to essentially knock out as many people as possible to save the lives of the people in Sanctum, with Jordan being controlled by a fella and having what I assume is Priya's mind drive at the end of the episode. Also, we get a more serious Bellamy forgiving Octavia scene, which references something she said in previous episodes about fighting together. Clark has a moment where, as I expected, she had to reach through to get Maddie out of Shadeheader's grasp, and it was a cool scene, although it just had a bad feeling. I still don't know why, I just didn't really like it. It felt almost cliche, I think. Also, a lot of great lines from Murphy this episode, just I don't think Murphy gets enough credit, he really is hilarious. This episode gets extremely crazy closer to the end though, with Octavia having symbols on her back that is a code to the Anomaly Stone, which Gabriel reveals to be thousands of years old, so outdating the primes by about 8 centuries, with them having no idea who made it or how it floats in the air. But when the code is entered, the anomaly expands and Hope, Dios's daughter in her 20s, comes out saying, "I couldn't get out of it, he has my mother," stabbing Octavia, with Octavia telling her to be brave and tell him it's done, which could reference Gabriel or Bellamy, because when the anomaly closes back in again, Octavia disappears but Hope is left there. I will probably be doing a separate video on the anomaly and my predictions for the next season, but one thing is for certain, it will focus on the anomaly, and possibly a side plot could be what happened to the commanders in the flame after the flame was destroyed. Now only one question left. What the hell did they do with Russell? You've made it to the end of the video. Congratulations! If you want to like and subscribe and maybe even turn on notifications, it would be much appreciated. And make sure to check out the other videos on my channel. Have a great day and I hope to see you in the future. Bye!